Welcome to the HasMedia podcast, the #1 marketing podcast in the world. I'm owner Has.
And I'm Okan Has.
And today we got a special guest, Steve Orosco, a.k.a. Mr. Smash. Welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. I love the setup.
Thanks,
Nice,
man. So we used to work with you, like probably, a couple years now?
Yeah, time goes by really fast.
I know, it's
really
insane.
fast. Yeah,
It's insane. And so we kind of found you through Kyle. Well, you found Kyle. You guys did a podcast together, right? And it was because you guys were both in the fasting space. But I want to really let people know your kind of, what you did to kind of, before you got into social media. I know you were always in social media, and you were a fighter.
Yep.
And were you in the UFC, or you were
No,
gonna
didn't make it to the UFC. Didn't get that far.
It was like 1 fight away or 2 fights away?
I don't know, because I went 8-0 as a pro.
Okay.
And I went to Melbourne, Australia to fight their #1 kid, and I lost. And at that time, I was 32. And my body was so beat up.
Yeah.
I just didn't have any more in the tank. You know, all the injuries that I've had, and just that passion was kind of just starting to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
And once that happened, it's over.
Yeah.
So I probably had a couple more fights.
Is there anybody that you fought that like people would know today?
I would say Nick Patterson.
Okay.
Who was a kid in Australia. He's a beast.
Okay.
He was a beast.
He's in the UFC or no?
No, he's not in the UFC. I think
Okay.
he retired. He retired like a couple years after I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And I think so we kind of, the orientation of this entire podcast is like around marketing, and it's really important for businesses and personal brands and just brands in general to be able to market yourself the right way, to create awareness for yourself. And I think the coolest thing that came out of it all is like you ended your fighting career, and I remember you telling me this story, and you had 2 decisions to make,
Yep.
right? And you chose a really cool path that was like awesome, and then kind of COVID came around and kind of destroyed the whole thing.
Yep.
But I want you to tell us about that story and tell the viewers about that story, because I think that's like super cool. You're about to hear.
Well, because I always tell people I went backwards in life. So I went to Pace University in New York City. I majored in finance and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Started working at Charles Schwab on Wall Street, corner Wall Street and William. And I got recruited by a firm called the Barnum Financial Group in Shelton, Connecticut. While I was there, I was getting back. I wrestled my whole entire life. So I was doing jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and boxing. I fell in love with the sport. I loved it way more than being in finance, which I didn't actually love. And I realized I'm the kind of person who I need to love what I do. I can't work for a paycheck. So during this time, I went back to school. I got my MBA and my MSM, which is a Master's of Science in Management. And then I quit the industry. I quit finance, moved to California in 2009. I turned pro as a fighter in 2010 or 11. Went 8-1. In my last fight camp, I was on Team Alliance in San Diego. So my teammates were Dominic Cruz and Kelvin Gastelum and Michael Chandler, Miles Jury, just savages.
Mm-hmm.
I had my first loss in Melbourne, Australia. And after that, I just said to myself, I'm done. Like, my body was so beat up, like I said. So what can I do next in my life? Well, the next chapter of my life, I had 2 options. It was go back into finance, which I'd probably be miserable, make a boatload of money for sure, but I wouldn't be happy. Mm-hmm. Or what can I do to stay in the sport that I love so much? So with that, it was 2 options. It was either open up my own gym, have my own pro MMA team, or start my own pro MMA league. My rationale at the time was I don't want to be at the gym at 5 a.m. cleaning mats and 11 p.m. So I said, let me start my own fight league. So I said, what can I do in the sport to make it better? What is it lacking? And all the centuries of history of build-up with boxing, people would go to these extravagant events and wear tuxedos, women in fur coats. You see like white collar boxing, and it's because it has centuries of history and build up. So it's like a Formula One kind of crowd in comparison to MMA, which was still very NASCAR, Budweiser, tap out t-shirts, everybody bleed. They're like, man, how do I get the boxing community and the black tie community to come watch MMA live? So I just package it different, where it's black tie and gown. You honor someone who's made a significant impact in the sport of MMA or boxing. invite celebrities. You're eating dinner, like salmon, steak, while you're watching these fights. And the whole red carpet experience, all based in Los Angeles, and it just took off.
Yeah.
To a point where we wanted to move back to Connecticut, where we were from, and start them in New York City. And literally, that was July of 2019, and then COVID happened.
Yeah.
Like within 7 or 8 months.
Yeah, it's
so
crazy.
It derailed everything.
And that's like such a cool story, because coming from like the UFC, I remember growing up as a kid when YouTube was just kind of starting to become big.
Yeah.
And UFC started kind of making this name, the fighting in the octagon.
Yeah.
And like I remember like a bunch of videos going up on YouTube of people having like backyard fights and stuff. So you're saying like, kind of associating that NASCAR vibe to UFC and trying to break that. It was definitely like a, hey, let's go in the backyard and beat the shit out of each other type of sport,
Yeah, well, the sport evolved so fast.
Yeah.
And when it started in 1992, I think was UFC 1. I remember watching it. I mean, there's no rules, no weight classes. You could fish hook.
Mm-hmm.
You could elbow a knee on the ground. You could hit in the groin.
Mm-hmm.
So now there's so many rules, and now guys are multifaceted, whereas then it was like jiu-jitsu guy versus wrestler versus boxer, taekwondo versus savant.
Yeah, it's crazy how now, like, especially because of social media, these big influencers, they've really gotten to that space. Like the big YouTubers and stuff like that. Yep. It's crazy how it's just like taken off. Like, what do you think about all that?
I love it.
Yeah.
I wish, because when I was fighting, my last fight was in end of 2014. So this is before social media really started picking up. It really started picking up like 2015, 16-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I missed that wave. I would have loved to film like a whole fight camp and do all the things that these guys do.
Yeah.
But I missed it,
Yeah, for sure, man.
Well, I mean, you got a good following now.
Yeah, it's decent. It's decent. I'm not active enough. I should do better.
Yeah. So take us through like hosting your first event and how you put all that together. And I know you had some like big names. Like, what are some big names that came to these events? Like you still have a lot of connections that you made through that, and people know you for it.
Yep.
So
that's one thing I miss about LA the most, is just the connecting with people. Like, if you're in sports and entertainment or fitness, like LA is the Mecca.
Yeah.
It's not even a close second. So I do miss that part of LA. But yeah, when I had my events, like I said, I always honored somebody. The first person I honored was Freddie Roach, who was Manny Pacquiao's trainer. Mm-hmm. And then we raised money for Michael J. Fox's Parkinson Foundation. Oh, wow. So I always raise money for a charity alongside with the honoring. So I've had Freddie Roach, Hitman Hearns, Chuck Liddell, Mel Gibson, Steven Seagal, Ken Shamrock, Mickey Rourke, Lou Ferrigno, Dolph Lundgren. So we've had like the who's who.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where publicists were calling me because people wanted to come to these shows.
Yeah.
Or it's just a 1 degree of separation. Like someone, be like, hey, Steve, I want to come. Can I bring this person? Let's just say it's Lou Ferrigno. Yeah, okay, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because people wanted to
go.
Because
you're so connected over there, right? You're so,
yeah.
It's crazy because like even us connecting here, I mean, we got to drive 3 hours. It's like
I know. It's crazy.
But
yeah, there's so many people in LA.
Yeah. Were you like starstruck at all, like at any of these moments, or it was just like, or were you at any moment of an event that you put together where you're like, how the fuck did I put this together?
Yeah, let me think about this. I actually stopped being starstruck before I even did any of these shows. When I first moved to California, I used to go to some of those autograph signings, and I went to one that was Jerry Rice.
Okay.
And he was actually following me on Instagram somehow. I don't remember why. I remember meeting him for the first time, and I was like, wait, just another person. I think people fail to recognize that. You think you might be really starstruck.
Yeah.
But I've never been really starstruck by anybody. But when I had either my 8th or 9th show, I got to honor Shane Mosley, Lou Ferrigno, Dolph Lundgren, and Mickey Rourke in one night.
Oh, wow.
That one was big because I wasn't expecting that many people to come.
Yeah.
Because Lou Ferrigno's my guy. I'm a Hulk fan.
Yeah, yeah.
And Dolph Lundgren is like my all-time villain.
Yeah.
Drago, oh my God.
Yeah.
That was my guy. So to have them both like in the room at the same time was really cool.
Yeah, it's sick, man. And those events were probably, nuts, right?
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah, tell us a little bit how like the events like played out and all that when you were hosting them.
Yeah, so I would do like 30 tables of 10. Tickets were like $500 to $1,000 a pop.
Mm-hmm.
So try to make it very exclusive. Because I always had that, you talk about like marketing and networking where, if you spend $500 on a ticket and everyone else spent $500 on a ticket, then everyone's like a viable source for connecting and networking with. It's almost like pre-vetted people.
Oh, 100%.
So that was a cool part. So I built this amazing Rolodex. But the night went off where we had a red carpet. So all the media came. I've had Sports Illustrated, ESPN, Getty was always there. After that, you have your cocktail hour, and then the fights start. 5 pro fights. Normally, you go to like the UFC, the pay-per-view part, the main card is about 5 fights.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to keep it at that because after that, people are they're over it.
Yeah.
How do you put something like that together, even on a marketing sense? I feel like, people don't really think about all the pieces that need to be put in place to be able to essentially host something like that.
Yeah. So putting on a pro fight is a lot of work because you're also dealing with the athletic commission because you're actually a sanctioned league. So I have to have a matchmaker is putting together the fights. All these fighters' medicals have to get done. Then you have the athletic commission that's coming in. They have all their requirements. You have inspectors and judges and doctors. Then you got to do your lighting. You got to deal with the venue. You have PR. There's so many working parts. The hardest part are the fighters, obviously, because they always fall out. So a normal pro show, let's say, has 15 fights on the night. If a fight or two falls off because a fighter missed weight or decided to back out, it's not that big of a deal. But if you only have 5 fights and 1 drops, you're scrambling to find a fighter who can get approved by the commission in days or even a day, and that's really difficult. And the fighter that you get knows that you're going to pay a lot more money for him because you need to fill that space.
Yeah, the demand kind of is like high at that point.
Yeah, so I would always book 5 fights. If 1 fell off, it wasn't that big of a deal having 4. But I had one show, I forgot which one it was. I think it was the first 2 shows I did in San Diego when I was there. It was kind of like the beta test before I moved to LA. And the second show, I had 5 fights scheduled, 2 fell off. So I only had 3 fights. That's not enough. So I had to try to fill stuff. So I brought in salsa dancers, dancing in the cage. I had to do all these things for extra entertainment.
What was the league called?
What's that?
What was the league called?
Smash Global.
Smash Global.
So smashglobal.com if you want to see all the trailers and highlight videos.
That's sick, dude.
Yeah.
What does it take to, financially? Like, did you have like partners? Did you have investors? And what is it like? How much does an event cost to put together? And like, what are you making off of that?
Yeah, I would say the average event is about 100-ish, give or take, depending how many fights you have. I've gotten it down to, one of my shows, I got it down to maybe 70, 75, which wasn't bad. But I did one show post-COVID, and everything was like 50% more. It was really fucked up.
Yeah.
The venue, I'm paying per plate like a wedding. I'm paying per person for alcohol. The lighting was more expensive. The ambulance, I got to get the paramedics. They were more expensive per hour. So the prices went through the roof. So the last show, I took an L on the last show. It was tough.
Yeah, man.
And that was in LA?
That was in LA, yeah.
So on that last show that you put together, you moved back to Connecticut after that?
I was already living in Connecticut.
Okay.
And we flew back.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and put it on. So I was there for a couple of weeks, so we put on the show.
So what was that decision to say, all right, maybe it's time to move on? Was it just the prices?
But I still want to do, I'm not done doing shows. There's no way. I love it too much.
Oh, absolutely.
I actually had one scheduled here in Connecticut this summer, but with the mayor race going on, it was way too much work.
Yeah, let's talk about that, man. You're running for mayor.
I am.
Connecticut, right? Hartford?
New Haven.
New Haven. Sorry, New Haven.
Sorry, close.
New Haven. Undisputed champions in New Haven is the Democratic Party.
Oh yes.
So they've never had a Republican.
The last Republican mayor was 1953.
Holy shit!
I know.
So you got
I know.
You got a tough battle uphill.
It's definitely an uphill battle, but not a lot of people vote in New Haven. So 135,000 residents, 12,000 people voted in the last mayor election. It's like less than 9%.
Oh, wow.
And a difference of about 6,000 votes between the incumbent and then the Republican.
Oh, wow.
And the big issue with that is Republicans didn't run ever. So 2021 was the first time a Republican ran for mayor in the 21st century.
Wow.
And then 2023, so we're kind of just playing catch up.
Is it because they just think they wouldn't have a chance?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was the Republican Party's been dead in most cities. Hartford the same way, Bridgeport, the other cities the same way. And that's why I get so upset, because the cities is where you're supposed to fight. If you know that's where the biggest margin is, you got to go in there and close that margin a little bit. Because the problem with New England, all the states are blue. And the states are so small that the cities control all the vote. So if you're in Connecticut and there's Bridgeport, Hartford, and New Haven, if that's deep blue, it's hard to overcome the vote unless you turn some of them Republican. That's why in Connecticut we have a supermajority, literally, as far as at the statewide level. So my plan is hopefully I can win, obviously.
Yeah.
But at the very worst, if you're at least moving the needle every single time and getting closer, is really important. Otherwise, you're never going to win statewide.
Gotcha.
You know, so like for example, if I am the Republican candidate to run for governor, I'm going to say, listen, we need to get more votes in New Haven. I'm going to go and back Steve as much as I can this whole campaign. So come 2026, during the governor's run, I have a better chance. But Republicans are archaic. Like they still live in the past. They don't really think like futuristically.
Yeah.
And you could tell by their social media, because none of them have it.
Yeah, 100%. Man.
I mean, slowly they are, but
Yeah. Because Democrats do a way better job
yeah.
at social media, because they go right after the younger voter.
Yeah.
Whereas Republicans haven't been doing that.
So what made you want to get into politics and run for?
So I was asked to run for state. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was asked to run for something 2 years ago. And the chairman of the GOP, Ben Proto, gave me two options. And he said, Steve, I heard about you, that you're this young, hungry kid and you want to get into politics. Well, there's two spots in your area, state representative or state senate. The state rep, I knew who he was. He was a neighborhood guy. The state senator was this guy, Martin Looney. And I'm a big term limits guy. This guy was like 76 years old, going into his 20th term in office. He was elected in 1980.
Wow.
Which is the year that I was born. I'm like, dude, New Haven's ranked last in like every single metric. How are they still voting for this guy? So let me go in there and see what happens. Obviously, I lost. I think it was like 75-25. But I got enough signatures. I raised enough money for the CEP grant they have in Connecticut. No one had ever done that before as a Republican.
Oh, wow.
So
Congratulations.
Thank you. So fast forward. I knew I wanted to run for something again, keep my feet in the fire. I want to run for governor, which is next year, but the more I researched, I decided it's just way too much work. I mean, campaigning in 169 towns, the former guy, Bob Stefanowski, who ran, when I ran for state senate, he said, if you run for governor, kiss your family goodbye for a year. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm ready for that. You know, I'm 44. My son's 11. He's like my top priority. So I said, no, I'm not going to run, but maybe I'll just run for mayor just to keep my feet in the fire for when I do want to run for something else. And even though a lot of people said, oh, you can't win. Once I started doing my research, I got really excited about it, I guess you could say, because of the low voter turnout. I said, wow, we can definitely win this election if we get more people to vote. So during this campaigning, I started going to a place called Get 'em Boy Boxing.
Okay.
I mean, it's like literally in the hood, like in the heart of the hood. And it's with my man, Coach Solo. And so I go, he holds mitts for me, and like I love being in there. It's like so nitty gritty, it reminds me of wild card boxing in LA. And I'm like, hey, Coach, do you have any kids that are good, any up and coming kids? Because there's not many great boxers that ever come out of New Haven. There's one, Chad Dawson. He was a world champion. Other than that, there's been nobody. I said, so who do we got? He said, I have like 4 kids going to the Junior Olympics. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And it's in Vegas. I actually think it's this month, or Nationals this month. And I said, well, how do you pay for it? you know? And he said, well, you know, we do fundraisers, and whatever we don't raise, I usually have to take an L on it. And I'm like, well, how much does that cost? He said, about $5,000. And like, I got the goosebumps like I see right now because fighting is what like built me. Like literally every aspect of me is because of wrestling. And I say to myself, you're telling me you have 4 kids going to Junior Olympics that can represent the city of New Haven and inspire a whole community, and the city isn't coming to you and saying, here's $5,000 open-handed?
That's crazy.
When they're spending $100 million in electric buses and all this money and all this other stuff that does not matter in comparison to what that could do to a community. So then it became like personal, and now I'm all in.
That's
awesome,
yeah,
man.
that's
sick.
so sick. And
So
what is like the difference between running for governor and running for mayor? Like, what are there things? Because it's also different for a major city that like you're running for versus like, you know, a town like Raritan where it's smaller.
Yep.
So there's different things that different, you know, and I know the New York City's mayor, right?
It's crazy.
It's like that's like being almost like being the president, right?
Yeah, serious.
So,
yeah, for real.
Yeah. So it's like, what does that entail in like New Haven?
Well, the good thing about running for governor, which was my motivating factor, was the CEP grant.
Mm-hmm.
So when I ran for state senate, the statewide grant is you get 300 signatures, you raise $17,000,
Mm-hmm.
then the state gives you $125,000 for your campaign.
Okay.
When you run for governor, I forgot how many signatures you need, but you have to raise, I think it's like 300 grand within your state. And then the state gives you almost $15 million for your campaign.
Wow.
And there's this threshold. There's like a pre-election grant, it's like $800,000. And then the primary grant, let's just say, is $3 million. And if you win your primary, then unlocks the rest of it.
Wow.
I'm like, this is crazy. Because, and they did that because in the last gubernatorial race between Bob Stefanowski and Ned Lamont, who is our governor, they spent $40 million combined of their own money.
Wow.
So then the state says, well, to make this a fair election, we have to up the grant amounts. I'm thinking to myself, man, you know what I could do with $15 million running for governor? You know?
That's wild.
So that's like motivating.
Yeah.
But the time it takes, that's something I would do once my son is like in college.
Gotcha.
When he's older.
So you'd be like in your late 50s.
Yeah, we'll see. He's 11, so you figure that's 7 years from now. So I'll be 50.
But you'll be ready for it at that point too, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, you'll have a lot more experience, I'm sure.
Much more.
You know?
And this mayor election is the last. So I don't know if you know, like almost every election locally, you also vote on some kind of addendum, some change to your city. The last one, I don't know if it was the last one or the one before, they voted on changing the mayor terms from a 2-year term to a 4-year term. So this is the last 2-year term. In 2027, it changes to a 4-year term.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, man, if I get in now and go into the next one, hopefully I'd win again and be in there for 4 years.
Yeah. And then comes governor. Maybe.
I would say I'd probably be a mayor until maybe I got voted out because there's so much needs to be changed.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I would love to run for governor, but New Haven, think about it, the whole entire state, we're ranked last in education in the whole entire state. We're ranked first in violent crime in the entire state, first in fentanyl overdoses. And we're a sanctuary city as well. We're second highest in taxes and second highest poverty rate. There's a whole slew of other statistics.
Why do you think that is right now?
Just the as far as what?
Just like the crime rate, you know,
it's just exponentially got worse over the years.
Yeah.
And it's been under one party rule.
God, so like not a lot of change. It's just continuous.
Just
same
continuous.
thing over and over.
And then, you know, the mismanagement of budget. Like this year again, there was like a $17 million shortfall in education. So now they got to fire or lay off like 129 staff. And people are irate about it, which they should be.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of ironic because, you know, the whole thing with Trump and Doge, and Doge goes in, they start firing people.
Yeah.
But you're mad about us firing people in the same way.
Yeah.
You know, what's the first thing? If a company is failing and the board the board fires a CEO, they bring in a new CEO to revamp the company, what's the first thing he does?
They start
firing people.
They got to fire as many people as possible.
Well, you need the right team, one. And then two,
Yeah.
it's like if you're not doing anything. I remember the videos that were going viral when Elon took over Twitter.
Yes.
And there was just like empty offices, people freaking having lattes, chilling.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, what type of work is actually getting done?
Yeah.
I guess what it is just it's the repetitive year after year. People get comfortable. There's
Yeah.
no change.
Nope.
And then everything's kind of swept under the rug.
Well, that's because also, if the public sector were ever held to private sector standards, everybody would be fired.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't do that. Unions protect everyone, and people don't work. They don't get fired ever.
Well, I feel like our country kind of got soft a little bit. And it's just like,
Oh.
we don't know the fine line of doing this. And that's why I love that you're running for mayor and on the Republican side.
Yep.
Because, like, we had this conversation before, right? You're a black American.
Yep.
The first thing that people think is, oh, yeah, you're running for the Democratic Party, right?
Always.
So what happens when you, like, talk to people and, like, how are they? They're probably like, what do you mean, you know?
So I'll give you one quick story. In the last election, when I was getting my signatures for my CEP grant, I went to a place called Bella Vista. It's like a low income senior citizen type of community, just deteriorating, you know? So I'm going to get my signatures from people, and I sit down next to this one guy, and it's a gay guy. And we're going over all these issues, and he agrees with everything. He's like, man, I really like you, Steve. I'm going to vote for you. And I gave him my clipboard to do the signature, and he goes, oh, wait a minute. Are you Republican or Democrat? And I said, I'm a Republican. I swear to you, it's like this guy just saw the devil. Completely changed his tune, gave my clipboard, and said, I can't sign it. I'm like, we just agreed on everything.
That's wild.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, you just said your state senator is failing you. You just said that education is a problem. You just said that this place at Bella Vista is dilapidated.
So people are just brainwashed, I guess.
People are brainwashed.
It's crazy, dude.
Another really quick story. This is even worse. I was asked to possibly get endorsed by one of the local unions. I think it was the local 34, which is the secretarial and technical staff of Yale. 80% women, right? I'm like, oh man, there's no way I'm going to get endorsed by Yale, which is ultra liberal and women, right? But I said, I'm going to go anyway, just to take the heat from their political committee. The same way Trump went to Chicago and got drilled by the NABJ and they just attacked him the whole time, because you want to be able to go into those hornets' nests and be able to deal with it. So I go in there and I walk in. There was 5 people. I had 3 black women, 1 gay guy, and 1 white guy, tatted head to toe. And I'm like, I'm already saying, wow, these are probably all very liberal people, which is fine. And there was 1 woman who was attacking me hard. She was so boisterous and so passionate about her community, which I respect. But she made 1 comment to me, which is, I just wanted to walk out the room. I couldn't even say anything back. She said, you know, Steve, that I like you, but if I vote for you and I vote for a Republican, you're going to bring back slavery. And I said, how was that I didn't say this out loud, but I probably should have. Sometimes you think after you leave the room, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, it's 2024. How would that happen with civil rights and humanitarian efforts? How would slavery come back?
Yeah.
Well, she was completely serious when she said that.
Completely serious.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's wild.
You know, but there's people who really do think like that.
Yeah.
And
They're brainwashed. You know what I mean?
But I think that's anywhere that's deep, any color. Like there's places in Mississippi or Kentucky that have been voting Republican for 50 years. There's trailer parks and everything is just falling apart.
That's true as
and
well.
I'm like, why are you still voting for these Republicans? Vote them out. Vote with some Democrats and see if that helps anything.
Yeah.
It's only 2 years.
Right.
2 years from now, if you don't like what the Democrats do, then get them out and vote the Republican
Yeah, it's
again.
just refreshing.
Just refreshing.
Refreshing the system.
But at some point, if the politicians don't have to earn your vote, why are they going to work for you? Why are they going to, you know?
And does it like
That's a good point.
does every like Republican or Democrat candidate they all have it's not they don't all have the same ideology, right?
No, not at all.
So there's different laws that they would want to pass or different things they would want to do for the community.
Yep.
And that's another thing is like, that's why marketing is so important. It's because, you know, especially when you're in the political, you know, race, they just put the party and associate it with bad or good.
Yes.
And there's no, let's look into what they're actually trying to do.
Which is why I hate the two-party system,
Yeah.
for sure. Because most people are centrists. If you're not a centrist, I think there's something wrong with you. Like, for example, you can be a Republican and be pro-choice.
Mm-hmm.
You could be a Democrat and be pro-Second Amendment to the fullest. But people want to put you in one box of a classification. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Not this day and age.
Yeah, everyone has a variety of views.
Yeah.
You know, and they might cross-pollinate.
They have to.
Yeah, they have to. There's no way you could be completely on one side, and there's no way. You know,
No.
everyone has different, you know, backgrounds, different places they grew up, etc. And I think that has a huge effect on them. You know what I mean?
Huge, huge.
So do you think, so you started posting more mayor
Yep.
campaign videos, right?
Yeah.
It's important to kind of be on social media today. How does that change?
You-
Is any of your competitors on?
So the Mayor Justin Elker, I don't think he has social media. He may have like 400 or 500 followers.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not very active, and he's not even in the limelight at all. He just kind of stays behind closed doors. So he definitely doesn't resonate with the public.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping not with my following, but me being in public eye a lot,
Yeah.
that's going to help.
Yeah.
And I think it will. I'm really trying to campaign on this Mayor of America
Yeah.
kind of narrative, because no one's been able to turn a blue city in a blue state red.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah,
there's
that's tough.
There's a few cities.
How do you? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
But how do you sway a state like that, or you know, a sector like that?
Or what's your game plan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What like? It's. I mean, it's been done where I mean, it has been swayed over. No, I mean,
in states, yes, but not in cities.
Oh, in cities, it
in
hasn't.
cities, like, I mean, there's not even that many red cities. Period. I know Indianapolis, Indiana, is one red city, but that's a deep red state.
Right. There's very.
And there's Miami. Those are the only two that are big cities.
That makes sense.
Fresno, California, there's like 500,000 people, so it's much bigger than New Haven. I guess it's considered a city.
Mhm.
That's a red city in a blue state,
Mm.
but it's a little different. It's not like New Haven in Connecticut.
Yeah. So, what would be your plan, essentially, to sway, or you know, your
So
your
it's not
long-term
even
plan?
about swaying, because Mayor Elker gets the same people to vote for him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
He's actually losing votes every election cycle. So, for example, 2019 he had 12,300 votes. 2021 he had 10,700 votes, so he dropped. Then 2023 he had 9,700. So he dropped, like, was that 25% over the last 3 cycles, and it keeps on going down. So I'm hoping I can kind of, close in that margin,
Yeah.
and I'm really focused on the black vote,
Mm-hmm.
and then just going to more poor communities that he doesn't go to at all.
Yeah. And just educating them.
Educate them. It's
That's
the only way.
smart.
It's
Yeah.
that, and it's then also the younger voter, because one thing that I failed on in my last election, I let my ego get in the way. Where it's, I want everyone to know I have 2 master's degrees and I'm an entrepreneur. I'm credible to be a politician, instead of the fact that I was a fighter. Because when I'm in the hood and I'm talking to these corner boys, and I'm talking like killers, like guys are even in their 40s or 50s that were in jail for 10, 20 years for murder, they hate politicians.
Yeah.
But when they find out that I'm a fighter, they're looking me up, they're YouTubing me, like, yo, this dude's official, he's credible. It's like automatic street credit, because
Yeah.
they understand fighting, because they live in a jungle.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of honestly kind of amazing that, you know, your perspective is like get to the root of the problem and start, you know, watering the plant in a better way, like in a lack of a better, you know, term, but watering the plant from the ground up, essentially, right? You're going to the root of the problem. You're educating these people, and then it seems like you genuinely want better for the community as a whole.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the black community is tough, because number one, they don't really vote. They don't have a reason to vote. You know, and it's hard to get the black community to think from a conservative standpoint. Because listen, and this might be unpopular, people might not want to admit it, But the black community was its strongest before civil rights. Before civil rights, bro, everyone went to church on Sunday. There were always two parents in the home. The father worked. He was entrepreneurial. He was self-reliant. The mother stayed home, took care of the family. They spent all of their money within their community, just like any other immigrant does when they come here. The Jewish community, everyone does that. They cared about education so much, they fought and risked their lives to go to white schools. So everything before civil rights, they were on the right path. But then the forced desegregation, I think, changed everything.
Yeah.
It's almost like the black community wanted validation from white people for the first time. Now we're equal. And then obviously the crack epidemic and then Joe Biden's tough crime bill, all that just completely killed the black community. But what led up to that was we were already divided in the first place. We weren't about our own community anymore. And we got to get back to that because we have a whole generation lost right now.
Yeah.
You know, and that's tough.
Right.
Yeah, that's tough.
And it's not just, you know, I think on the younger generation, it's not just the black community either. It's like a lot of our young generation is how they're being brought up and what technology is doing. And, you know, you have AI and I feel like we're moving in the wrong direction and we're letting technology dictate our decisions. And it'll just be all right. Right, like we're in Raritan, New Jersey. I don't think I've ever voted for mayor, like in any election cycle ever, because I just don't know about it. It feels like on the smaller scale side of stuff, they almost don't want you to know about it, right? And I just know I'm not really huge on politics, but I do know there are certain things that I've heard just by watching. Some political figures that there are some elections, you probably know this better than me, I'm probably going to butcher this, but where there's like a chairman of parties, right? Chairman of the Republican Party and the chairman of the Democratic Party. Like in the state of New Jersey, it's almost like a blind election. It's like anyone can register, but they don't let you know about it because they want that person kind of dictating that party. It's just like there's all these little things going on. It's just sometimes you gotta sit down and honestly just think for yourself and look at what, whether it is Democratic or Republican or Libertarian or whatever party it is, like look at what the person is trying to do, right? And having that education, being able to make that decision for yourself is super important.
Yeah, I think it comes with, actually our boxing coach says it all the time, like critical thinking. A lot of people, especially the younger generation, and we're all, I guess, what's it called? Like, I forgot. I completely lost the word.
It's all right. It happens.
For a lack of a better term, like we're all.
Like, don't take it at face value.
Yeah. Well, for what?
Like any information.
Yeah. So like, I guess people, I completely lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
That's the worst.
Oh my God, dude.
That's happening before. I was hoping it doesn't happen when I'm like giving a speech.
I'm sure that's pretty frightening too. Like you're giving a speech to a crowd and you just go blank like that.
I don't.
You're a very good speaker though.
Thank you.
You are.
Some people just kind of go off the cuff like Trump does, and some people read off a teleprompter. I just try to go off the cuff, whatever's coming out of my heart. Right off the sleeve.
And I think that's super important today too, because it's I feel like we've been just fed this bullshit for the last, I'm 30, but like the last 20 years of my life, right?
Oh, for sure.
Growing up and having these super polished politicians reading off prompters, saying whatever they're scripted to say.
Like actors.
Even on social media, you see it today too. I mean,
it seems like a show.
Yeah, it's like, I've been noticing a lot of creators now are doing more organic posting where they just take their phone, talking to the phone, and that's kind of crushing. And I think it's just people are just tired of just being fed something. Right? They want to connect with that person. So, not doing that, not reading off the prompter, and not kind of just going off the cuff, that you do resonate with people.
And that's one of the things that I loved most about Trump in the beginning was he would literally talk for like an hour, 2 hours in front of a crowd. That's hard. Anyone thinks that's easy to think for that long, That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely had some practice for that.
Yeah,
he's built up those skills for sure.
Yeah, it's hard enough to have a podcast and talk for an hour, 2 hours straight.
Yeah,
and have a conversation.
Yeah. So what I was saying was before it just came back to me, but our boxing coach says it all the time. You should be using a lot more critical thinking, especially when it comes to politics. A lot of people take things at face value.
Yep.
And they only peel the onion like one layer.
Yep.
And there's so many more layers behind it, and there's always the root to something.
The root is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
People don't want to talk about the root because then it usually changes your whole world view.
Or they actually find out that they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, because they don't want their worldview to change, so it's easier to stay ignorant.
You know what Kyle told me, and this really stuck with me. Actually, we had a podcast with him, and he said people will die for what they believe in. So that's it comes down to that too. It's people are very, very they'll stand strong for what they believe in. They don't want their perception to change at all. So if you come at them, even if it's the truth, right? Maybe they have their own truth or whatever. So it's that you're kind of battling with that too in politics. You know?
I mean, it's almost like any industry. You could say, I don't know, the health industry. We talk about people who are obese and have autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses and diabetes. What's the root? It's the food.
Yeah.
If it's the food, then how come doctors aren't taking nutrition classes in med school? Because they want to keep us sick. And if you're someone who says, man, I love my Doritos, I love my Coke, I love all this bad food, I'm not going to allow that to be the truth. Because I got to give up all this stuff for good stuff. It's no different with illegal immigration. And there's all this ICE and deportations. None of this happened under Trump in his first cycle when he was number 45 because it wasn't an issue. But then Biden's dumbass letting 15 million illegals. Yeah. So what do you think Trump has to do? Like I was doing the math actually the other day, so it's great I can say this. There are almost 2 million people incarcerated in jail right now in America. Okay? That means people from misdemeanors all the way up to on death row. That's 1% of our population, exactly, 1% of adults. 15 million people you let in unvetted illegally. 1% of that is 150,000 people. Damn. So you're saying, okay, so that's potentially 150,000 criminals from misdemeanor to killers that we let in this country that are unvetted. We don't know where they are.
It's a scary thought.
We have to go and get them.
Absolutely.
If you look at the numbers, it's a fact. There's at least 100,000.
Yeah.
You're talking 1% if you're going to compare it to American citizens.
But was it Tennessee, Nashville? It was it's like 6 months ago or 7 months ago. It wasn't just Nashville. There's like multiple cities in Tennessee that were like being run by gangs.
Yep.
It's just insane. And it was when Biden was in office, and it was swept under the rug. And I remember opening up TikTok, and this was right around the time that they were trying to get TikTok banned. Yeah. And I think it's because they're showing the truth of what's actually fucking going on. Yep. Whether that's an attack from, the Chinese government or what they say to kind of stir up the pot or whatever. But yep. At the same time, it's why is this being kind of shoved underneath the rug, swept under the rug, on actual national media, right? And it's just like, we need to know about these things. And then you can go the other way too. And I think this is where like the Democrats come from. And maybe not the Democrats, but when we have this, authoritative policing and people need to be, tagged and all these different things. Now you're starting to turn into sort of like a communist.
Yeah, true.
So like, what is that balance? You know what I mean? Like, how do we get around that?
That's also true.
And it's especially with like the AI technologies and everything, and the surveillancing. I forgot who the CEO, what tech company it was, but there's a tech CEO that was talking about how in the future, in the near future, within like the next year or two, they want to have, just like how Teslas have cameras all over the car, they want that on cop cars, and being able to use AI surveillance to see like if somebody's doing something criminally, yep. or if the police officer is doing something that's not supposed to be done on the job, and now there's this balance of okay, well, the government has like this crazy control over what's going on.
Yep.
And that could lead down to a bad path too.
Yeah, I think both sides are always fighting what could happen on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, abortion, right? It's such a hot topic.
Mm-hmm.
Democrats allow abortion, say, up into 9 months, let's just say.
Yeah.
And Republicans like, oh, you can't do that. You can't have third trimester abortions. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, something, it's the child or the life of the mother, different story. So Democrats, even if they agree, they're not going to say, okay, let's have abortions only up until 6 months. Anything after that is considered illegal. You can't do it. Well, if you're a Democrat, you say to yourself, how do I know in 5 years Republicans aren't going to come back and say, no, 6 months has to roll back to 4 months or 3 months or 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with Democrats with guns. Like, yeah, I'm a big pro Second Amendment guy. And if Republicans say, okay, no more AR-15s, we agree with you, Democrats. Who's to say the Democrats don't come back in 5 years and say, okay, now we want to ban pistols?
Yeah.
So it's like how far no one's willing to have a bipartisanship over the future. So surveillance is the same way. Like for me, I've always said, if you want to stop human trafficking, okay, have a camera on every light post.
Oh yeah.
It'll be stopped overnight.
Yeah.
And I would be okay with that because I don't do anything illegal. But then you run the risk of, well, how much further can they go on surveillance?
Exactly.
Are they going to all be pointed at our houses? Can they watch us in our house? You don't know.
And that's the fine line too, is when these laws do go into effect, you're trying to appease and like kind of mediate both parties. And so there are these like massive gray areas.
Big time.
Right? So it's like you said, like if a camera, if surveillance is going to be pointed at your house or have a view of your house, should it be in the laws like what if you do something illegal? What if you smoke a little weed and it's illegal in your state, and they catch you on camera, all of a sudden you're getting arrested the next day? Like what is that fine line? You know what I mean? So it's just like crazy things. It's like total like authoritarian type of like Big Brother almost.
For sure.
And it can go both ways too.
Oh, 100%.
On both parties.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
Who's to say they won't want to chip us one day?
Exactly.
Well, they're slowly, Elon Musk is slowly putting
that. I know. That's technology. Some people will want that.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I say, man, we should all just chip our kids.
Yeah.
Like we chip our dogs. No kids ever getting kidnapped again.
That's true.
Yeah.
But then there's a fine line again. How far does that go?
Yeah. You start, you jaywalk and then all of a sudden you're getting arrested.
Yeah, I know. Like knocking on your door, you jaywalked today.
Yeah. And that turns into this like total utopian society, which again comes back to like that communism, like you're playing that fine line between like true communism.
Big time.
And that's where like I think technology starts to get scary. But yeah,
I think we have about two more years till we really see it like embedded into the everyday society.
100%. And I think the other thing too is
we're slowly seeing it right now.
Yeah. And the other thing is I think with the laws that go into effect is who you vote for, these people are making the decisions.
Yep.
And then it goes back down to like what you're saying with, you running for mayor and you actually wanting to be for the people, right? Yep.
It's not about parties, it's about people.
Exactly. But what ends up happening is there's a lot of lobbyists in these states and government, and what is that fine line? Because now you're starting to play with this, well, if somebody pays you, I don't know, $1 million and says, hey, Steve, you put this law into effect for us.
Yep.
And if you're corrupt, you'll take that all day.
Yeah.
And do those type of things.
And then it exponentially gets worse over the years.
Yeah.
Or it's just, you're a politician. There's like two more things. If you're a politician, you want to get something done. Like there's something really you want to get taken care of. You might have to negotiate with someone. Hey, listen, I want this done. And that person might say, okay, but you got to give me this. Even though you don't want to give that person that because it goes against everything you believe in, but you're still getting what you really wanted done. Do you do it? Most people are going to say yes. Trump is a master at that. How do you think of RFK? He met with RFK and said, listen, I want you on this team. What do you want? RFK says, I want to be the HHS. Trump says, it's yours. Mm-hmm. Now they team up and boom, and here we are. But I think one of the biggest issues in politics, when you're in a totalitarian, not regime, but community, mm-hmm. like New Haven, so there's 30 wards in New Haven. All 30 aldermen, which is basically the mayor of your neighborhood, or they're elected by your neighborhood, all Democrat, all 30. Mm-hmm. I think we have 6 state reps, I believe, all Democrat. The Board of Education is progressively Democrat. We have 2 state senators. One has like one half, one has the other of New Haven, mm-hmm. both Democrat. Our congressional, Rosa DeLauro, you might have seen her before. She has purple hair. Mm-hmm. She was elected in 1990, Democrat. So because I get this from people who are on the inside and like politicians and are Democrat, and like, Steve, I love you. I wish you would just run as a Democrat and primary Elliker and take him out. Mm-hmm. And in my head, I say, why would I want to be a part of a failed system, number one? But even if I won and I become a Democrat, now I'm a part of the machine, and I have to listen to everyone in the machine, mm-hmm. or they're just going to vote me out in the next election.
100%.
So you have to be that guy who's like a Trump. Say, I'm going to try to disrupt the system, and hopefully it works.
Well, I think like you have such an advantage, and I'm going to say when you get into office, because I'm praying for you to win, and yes. I feel like you are going to win. But it's also like this what the fuck factor that happens, because when you do get into office and you're Republican and you're black, and it's not just this another white guy that goes into office, mm-hmm. right? That is usually the case with the Republican Party. It's like the entire system goes, wait, what the hell?
Yep.
What the hell? What? He's Republican, right? And then it kind of starts to open your mind of like, well, why is he choosing the Republican Party?
Yep.
Then you start to look into the things that you want to do, right? And the legislatures you want to put into place.
Yep.
And that starts to open up people's minds and go, okay, maybe we should start researching on who we're picking and you know, why they're running for office. And I think that's Absolutely. A great thing, man. You know,
yeah,
like
it's needed.
It's massive. I mean, you know, it goes back to, and I want to bring this back to the fitness, you know, because I think we got introduced into, I want to get into fasting.
Yep.
We got introduced into fasting with Kyle, and Kyle introduced us to you because you guys linked up and did a podcast together, and that was the first time that we ever met.
Yeah, we had to work out.
But I think like fasting is such a great way to just open up your mind, because I remember the first time, and I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, but the first time we started actually filming with Kyle, one of the workouts we went to, he like looked at me, he's like, hey, owner, do a 48 this week. I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? 48, no food, you know? But we started, you know, me and my brother, we started getting into it, and using that as our, you know, into our fitness regimen. And all of a sudden, like now he's talking about Bigfoot and how the world's flat and this, you know, politician is not this person. And some people might think he's crazy, but I think the big message he's trying to tell you is just, you know, just don't take anything at face value. Question everything.
Everything.
And that's what kind of opened up our world to, you know, opening up like just questioning everything and not taking everything at face value, and just starting to create that critical thinking of, all right, is what this person is saying true? You know what I mean? And it's not all the time. You gotta.
Well, also with social media now too, you're getting fed the algorithms, right? So
your echo chamber.
Yeah. So it's, you know, there's probably, you know, thousands and thousands of people right now on their phones scrolling, and they're just accepting things at face value.
Yep. You
know what I mean? And whoever's in control of these platforms could dictate whatever they want. You know what I mean?
Very true.
And these people are just fed, like that's why I really like X, even though you still don't really know how they're, you know, what's going on really behind the scenes, but there's a lot more, I guess, uncensored things on there. You really get to see what's going on in the world. But before Trump got into office, especially Instagram and TikTok's still kind of like that, but Instagram was definitely a lot more censored, and it was almost like Disney World. Like, you know what I mean? Everything that you saw on there was very, very censored. I think they opened up a little bit more.
They definitely did. I always had one of those orange checks in my account status. I'm like, I didn't even say anything wrong.
Yeah.
I just had COVID.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, you know, and then but people don't see the power in that, especially. Yeah. That's why I think Kevin O'Leary tried buying, or was trying to buy TikTok. Mr. Wonderful. Yeah. Because it's so powerful. It's such a powerful tool, especially if you own a platform. Yeah. There's so many businesses on there. You could sway people. That's how, I mean, a big part of why Trump got into office was because of Elon, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And him owning that platform. Now that he owns that platform, it's not even about the money anymore. It's about, I could sway people's decisions, you know? And I think that's worth more than $1 billion or whatever, you know what I mean?
All day.
Yeah.
Billions.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know, so I think that's pretty crazy. But yeah, I think that's like, I guess, why I think a lot more people should be on social media. You know what I mean? The more you get your message out there, the more it'll get in front of people's faces. And if you could be authentic, you know, if you could talk about your fighting background, and people can resonate with that, and they could see that you're a real person, right? You're not just trying to push this agenda, right?
Yep.
People resonate with that a lot more, and that's how you kind of get connected, you know? And it's just you're little by little, you know what I mean? You can kind of change people's perspective. And I think Grant Cardone said it. He said the first impression is an old school thing. It's gone. There's no more first impression anymore. If you're on social media, it's the last impression. He said
that's true.
He said it takes about, I think, 6 to 10 impressions to change someone's perspective. So if you come up 6 times with the same message, eventually their perception will change, right? They might not get it the first time, they might not get it the second time, but when you hit that 6th, 10th, 15th, 20th, 50th, 100th time you say that thing, now they start to believe it, because a lot of people do just accept things at face value, you know? So I think
that's like marketing 101 in school. Is reach times frequency.
Absolutely.
How many times can I reach somebody, and now we're frequency.
Yeah.
That's what social media is. Because you're right. I know I'm guilty of it. You guys might be guilty of it too.
It's part of our job.
Yeah. But we care so much about our own content.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's such a hinderment when people aren't going back. Like your wall. Some people are so obsessed with what's on their wall, but no one's going back and stalking your wall.
No shot. Yeah.
They think it's the old school Instagram where your wall was like really important, because growing a following was super hard back in the day. Yeah. Now, like you said, who was the guy that just got a crazy amount of following?
Yeah,
you say the right thing at the right time.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you know, I mean, our uncle and cousin, they have a restaurant in LA, so we told them that, like, to start posting again. Dude, they had like 5 videos go viral already. They're up like almost 14,000 followers.
Damn.
Just off of one post, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, you never know when you just say the right thing, and if that's something that you truly believe in, right? And that's the other scary part, is if it isn't something that you believe in, or if it's something that you believe in but you know it's like false, you could also change people's opinion the other way as well.
Also true.
You know. So what are you doing? So what are things, like some things that you're trying to implement as mayor, and what can you do as mayor, and like, are you utilizing social media, and what's your game plan with that?
Oh, social media for sure. I'll tell you what, it's really hard to do them all. Mm-hmm. I would love to do TikTok and X and YouTube and Instagram, and I started to, but it was way too time consuming. You can't do that without a team doing it for you.
Yeah.
I think anybody could manage one platform properly.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'm gonna post on Instagram twice a day. That's manageable.
Yeah.
Anything above that, I don't care how busy or slow you are, the repetition is really hard.
Yeah.
That's why I had respect for Jake Paul when he said he did a video every single day for like 900 days.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's crazy.
The long form YouTube, yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane.
I mean, I've been posting on Instagram Shorts or Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and Facebook.
Yep.
For the past 3 years.
Yeah.
Every day.
Okay.
For Kyle's account.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy difficult.
Seriously, yeah. I just do Instagram and Facebook, and that's it right now.
It's like, I mean, I do it for now, like multiple accounts, but it turns into like, you know, brushing your teeth now, or like, I put my contact lenses on every day. It's like, I got to post, you know what I mean?
But it's so easy to have a day where you feel sluggish.
I know, man.
You're like, I'm not going to post saying you don't do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, shit,
that's what, usually when that thought comes in, that's when I do it.
Okay.
Usually I'm like, oh man, I really don't want to.
You know, Thursday, because I'm not a big drinker, but if I drink and I'm hungover, dude, I'm not even opening my social media.
Man.
You know?
People are, it's the consistency too that is what makes you grow with it. You know what I mean? Because then you start to improve. You see what starts to work.
Like with social media, just because you mentioned it. Like if I'm a state of New Haven, bro, I'm gonna have a budget for social media.
Yeah.
Like for example, if you spend, I don't know the number, I'm just throwing it out there. Let's say you spend $100,000 a year on your social media for the state of New Haven. You really don't think that's going to bring in more than $100,000 in revenue for your entire city?
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean, you're talking, that's crazy. I mean, we're the pizza capital of the world. That alone would drive revenue.
Yeah. We're right next to Delucia's Pizza. You ever heard of it too?
No, but did you mention it?
The 9.4 score?
Yep.
Yeah, Dave Portnoy had given it a 9.4. And just him just doing that, I mean, they're still running out.
Yep.
And it's been probably a few years now. You know what I mean?
It's crazy. If I owned a pizza place, I would pay Dave Portnoy like whatever. I'd pay him $10,000 just to come and take the risk that I may or may not get a good score. Because that one good score, even if it's average, even if he was there, people are like, I'm gonna go try it now. I'm gonna go try it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know?
And you get the same impression with like just politics. I mean, you know who does a really good job is Bill Spadia. He has a good social media presence.
Okay.
He has like, if you look at his stuff, he has some die-hard fans on there. And a lot of the other candidates that are running for governor in New Jersey, like they don't have that type of presence. And I think, I mean, he's built, you know, a radio show that has millions of people on it.
That's true.
So but it goes to show you, like, you create the right community on Instagram. You know, you have those diehard followers, and
we'll get what's his name? Vivek did an amazing job.
Oh my god, dude!
That dude had a team with him 24 hours a day. I feel like, and that's how he blew up so fast.
Oh yeah, and I think that was so when I first saw the presidential campaign for this election that just passed. When he first started putting up social media, Trump wasn't on social media yet, and at one point, I'm like, dude, I really like this guy. I like what he's saying.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think this guy might win, you know? And then I think what happened was the Nelk boys and Dana White got all partnered up with Trump, got him on TikTok, and then that shit just exploded. But it just goes to show you the power of social media, especially like if you
get Trump Jr.
Oh,
like the meme king that helps his father so much.
It really does.
And if you already have some type of community that backs you, this is a big thing, is social media just becomes an amplifier.
Yes.
Right? So that's the mistake too, is a lot of people try to get famous on social media to get famous, but they don't do things to create that community, to create that, quote unquote fame.
Yep.
And Alex Hormozy?
Yeah, of course.
So he sold his business for $100 million. He was doing YouTube, I think, for 3 years before he even blew up. And as he sold the companies, the 3 companies that he created, there was a gym launch, and then there was like one software company. But just goes to show you, like, as soon as he sold his company, all of a sudden, right behind that is now everybody's like, holy shit, who is this guy?
Yep.
Same thing with Andy Frisella.
Yeah.
Andy Frisella, he built a massive company. First Form is huge, and having created something and being able to showcase that, and having that community behind you, it's an amplifier. Now you're somebody that's done something.
Yep.
But and there's comedians and different guys on social media that do funny things and entertain and whatever. But I just think, like, if you want to be somebody that's powerful and can have a voice on social media, like, you have to do something. So, like, don't just focus on the social media. Focus on creating a community. One of the kind of goals that we created for ourselves for this podcast was we want to hit up a bunch of the business owners around this main street, and then the next town, Somerville, which is kind of like it's up and coming area. But why not create that, you know, like right now, today, if I walk down the street, maybe I'll know one person that says, "Oh, what's up, owner?"
Yep.
But if it takes us 2-3 years to create something where now we walk down the street and everybody knows us, and oh, owner, what's up? How you doing?
Yeah.
Right now, you built a community.
It's not who you know. It's who knows you.
Exactly. And you're building something that's actually real, and then now that amplifies.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people start to, like, they think right off the bat is, you know, oh, I'm gonna get into social media. I want to be, you know, I want to have millions of followers.
Yep.
And that's what they get into it, but they don't realize it's, you know, just try to start small, you know, go on a local level, and then let it expand.
And it's really hard to get followers now.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
There was a time where it was, I don't know if the algorithm was just making it easy for people, but now it's hard. Even getting likes, you might get a good amount of views, but
man.
comments, because everyone right now is just swipe. So they're not actually taking the time to like and comment, go to your profile, follow.
Yeah.
It's like YouTube, just go to the next person.
Well, it's the TikTokification of these platforms. Is people are not liking. Instagram just changed their algorithm, so now they're really heavily on watch time.
Yep.
And we were just looking at one of our clients' accounts yesterday. It was 2 seconds?
For what?
3 seconds?
It was like the average watch time was like 8 seconds.
No, I'm saying one of the posts, it went up from like 2 seconds to 3 seconds.
No, I don't think. Yeah, sure, I think so.
Vince?
Yeah. No, it was 8-second watch time.
Oh, it went up to 8-second watch time?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, like, it was from like a 3-second watch time going up to an 8-second watch time, and the video is like now performing that much better.
Oh, wow.
Right? So and I think Instagram is doing a little bit of both. So they have that TikTokification of the platform, but they're also trying to implement how YouTube implements their algorithm.
Yeah.
Right? Because YouTube is massive on watch time. Like, people have to be stayed in tune of what you're doing.
The watch time's a lot longer on shorts for some reason. It's going crazy.
That's what they did with that was how the stories were always operated. So if someone has, like, say 5 stories, and you watch the story, if you watch the whole thing or you engage with it, it has a better chance of going viral. If someone just hits your story and they skip every single one, don't watch it, Instagram thinks that nobody likes your story.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And
it doesn't unlock like that next tier of followers.
There's too many like variables, and it's too much to keep up with.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to be consistent, and that's the biggest game. Is if you keep the consistency, keep working on it, keep stacking it every single day.
Everything else is secondary.
Yeah, and you never know when you're going to go viral.
Yep.
Right. Like, we've had clients that it's taken a long. We're still trying.
Yeah.
Right. And they've went up following. And sometimes you don't need 100,000 followers, depending on what you're doing, right? But then we've had clients where, do you remember your BK by any chance? He has the juice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, the first video we ever put up for him hit like 1.5 million views.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? So you just don't know. Like, it's the right timing, the right time to post, the right thing that you said on a video. And that's important to, don't overanalyze and be like, oh, I gotta do something like this and it has to be scripted or whatever. But just if you have a belief, if you have something that you're trying to do, just keep doing it day in, day out, and watch it grow over time. Was that the guy? Is it Ashton, the Saratoga water? Oh yeah.
He did like the same style of video for a year, like a year or 2 years.
Yeah.
And finally, just one of them went viral.
Yeah.
And it was no different than all the other ones that he did.
And Saratoga got a bunch of good, I guess. Yeah.
Their stock went up by like 10% or something.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So they definitely gave him some money or something. But and that's a good point that you brought up with the Ashton Hall. So when that happened, I looked back on his videos. I'm like, what did this guy do? Like, was this by mistake, or, did he do this on purpose? And I started looking back on the videos, and I realized that every single video that he did for his morning routine or afternoon routine,
Yep.
there was one clip in the entire video that was like a what the fuck moment, where he would either have like AirPods while he's showering, using banana peels on his skin, the face in the water, because a lot of people, that was like a trend, or he would, what was the other thing? When he dives into the pool, it goes from like 747, and then he's like midair, and it like changes to like 750.
Okay.
So it's like it took him 3 minutes to like get into the water, right? But he did all these little like minute things on every single video.
Yep.
And then once one took off, and here's the other thing. So once one took off, every other video was the same, right? And each one had that little kind of factor in it.
Yep.
And so first people are like, oh, you got to watch this video. When you get on his page, you don't know which video it is because he has a bunch of the same ones.
True.
So the one blew up. Then you see the odd clip in that video, and you go to the other videos and you're like, okay, well, what's in this? And then now half the community or half the people are thinking like, oh, this guy's a douchebag.
Yep.
The other half is like, oh, this guy's genius,
Yep.
and loving him. And dude, he went from He went from like 1 million followers to like, I think he's almost like 20 million now.
Yeah, I think it was even more than that.
Dude,
I think he had
insane.
less than that, but yeah, it's crazy. Well, it's no different than people like extreme stuff, like you said, what the fuck moments. Why do you think Liver King blew up so quick?
Oh, dude, and
Little
he's coming back too.
I know, a little warlock guy.
He has a Netflix.
But eating raw liver like that.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because that wasn't normal at the time, Yeah, I watched his Netflix. I watched it. It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
I think the Netflix is going to be his comeback.
Think so?
Yeah. I think he's coming back. I think they have a plan. There's a reason why Netflix took him on.
Yeah.
He has a PR team. He has a marketing team.
He's just a character.
Yeah.
And
that's what it is, man.
Oh, he built that character.
Yeah.
It took time for him.
Yeah.
I mean, if you saw the Netflix, like earlier on, he didn't really have that. I guess like those character traits.
Yep.
He really stepped into that. And I feel like
warlock.
Yeah,
Look.
man.
Yeah, he was like the first to do it on like social media though. I'd say like that look, what I mean? And really
It's
owned
crazy
it.
because how many people are doing that?
Oh,
There's
yeah.
like millions of people that are trying to go viral, and one person hits.
Yeah, well, you know what it is? No one's eating testicles.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So-
the extreme stuff is what always moves the needle the most.
Yeah.
People want to watch things that I guess makes that they're curious, but they would never want to do it. You know what I mean? It's like gambling. Like there's a bunch of gambling clips and stuff like that people are putting down, like 50K, and like am I gonna win this hand? Like I want to see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I'm not gonna fucking do that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or maybe I would.
Well,
but-
when my son was going through that Pokemon phase,
yeah.
he like literally watch videos of people opening packs,
Yeah.
seeing if they're going to get the Charizard or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Hours
there's
watching it.
There's an entertainment value to it,
Yeah.
like
It's a shock factor. Oh my God, I hope he gets it. I hope he gets it.
yeah. And it's funny because Kyle gave us a book. He's an email marketer, Ben Settle, and he talks about it. And it's funny because you met the guy that he references, so Mel Gibson. But in the book, he says that when you create content, you should always think about how to entertain, educate, and elevate someone's way of thinking.
Mm.
And he said he got that from a Mel Gibson interview of how he puts movies together.
Oh, shit.
So, and it's a good rule of thumb. Alex Hormozy says, hook, retain, reward. It's the same concept. But if you're just doing the same thing over and over again, and there's no entertainment factor, there's no education factor, and you're just trying to make these videos just because, and you want to try to go famous or try to make money or whatever, like you have to do something different.
Yeah.
If you're doing what 99% of the people are doing, you're not going to get anywhere. And maybe you'll have that luck, because there are people that do get lucky.
Yeah, for sure.
But, maybe you're just not that lucky person, so you got to work 10 times harder and figure out how to get there.
That's also true. It's also true.
And you probably know this in the fighting world. Like, I know fighters that, because before me and my brother started boxing again, I used to box with our coach like 12 years prior when I was in high school, and there were some like freak athletes, man. They're just like born with it.
Yep.
You know, never went pro, never went, never got anywhere with it, but they're just like freak fucking athletes. Some people just have that.
Oh, for sure.
But if you don't have that and you want to compete at that level, you have to work 10 times harder.
For
than
sure.
them,
For sure.
Yeah, going back to fighting too, I kind of wanted to bring this up too. Like now that we've been boxing for like kind of a year now, I see it in a different light.
Yes.
Like I was watching UFC the other day with Sean O'Malley and Merab. Did you watch that fight?
Oh, yeah.
What'd you think about that fight?
Merab is like untouchable right now.
He's crazy.
He's so good. He's so strong. His wrestling for MMA is so good.
Yeah.
And Sean O'Malley, great striker, but he's so long.
Yeah, he's super long. Yeah.
That if he can't keep the distance, Merab even gets a little close.
He keeps closing the gap.
Close
right?
distance, then O'Malley can't strike.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then once he gets him to the ground, it's game over.
It's over.
I mean, especially in that region, their national sport is wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So they've been wrestling for like
That whole area,
hundreds of years.
Georgia and Turkey and Romania, all those places.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like it's not even like it's literally embedded into their DNA.
It's like Muay Thai in Thailand. It's just
exactly
you're born with that.
Yeah.
It's cool to see. Like now that we box and like we're not like we're not like good or anything. I mean
I got knocked out by a 15-year-old.
But like I see it in a different light. There's these like such small technical things. You know what I mean? Like now when I watch it on TV, it's like, oh, like he put his hand up and I saw that block, but like maybe a year ago I wouldn't have noticed that. I just think it's super interesting in the conditioning, and you're in phenomenal shape as well. So it's probably one of combat sports. Probably one of the most difficult conditioning there is.
By far,
because you're putting your everything into it.
Yep.
And sorry about that. You're putting your everything into it, and it just you just can't compare it. And it's very primal. You know what I mean? And it's very addictive too.
Oh, it's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. We got to box again.
Yeah, for sure. Like even with like fighting itself, like you're getting ready for a fight. Let's say whether it's boxing, MMA, whatever it is. When you're in the back room and it's your turn's coming. And you're just like your adrenaline's going, and your nerves are going. I know me, I would shit 4 or 5, 6 times before my fight because your nerves are just like flushing you out. You can't control it.
Yeah.
You see the guys in the back room and they're hitting mitts, and like you feel like nothing's working. It might look good on TV, but it doesn't feel normal. Because the adrenaline dumps. Yeah. And you're walking out to the cage, and you're like, oh shit. How am I supposed to feel right now? How am I supposed to act? Am I supposed to look tough? Am I supposed to be scared? And then you get in the cage, and you're like, shit's about to get real. And the cage door closes, and like, you're like, man, this is about to go down.
Like that person's trying to kill me.
And
like vice versa.
For me anyway, I'm scared out of my mind. Yeah. And but then once the ref blows a whistle, all that goes away. Yeah. I always say it's probably comparable to I never went skydiving before, but you go skydiving, you're like, I can't wait to go. I can't wait. The plane's going up. You're starting to get a little more nervous. Then they're at the top, and they open the door. Like, oh, shit, I'm not jumping out. You're, like, super scared. And then once you jump, you just feel free.
Yeah, 100%.
All those nerves go away.
I think we were Kyle had a podcast with, was it Mickey?
Mickey Gall.
Mickey Gall. Yeah. And
they're close friends.
Yeah, Mickey was saying, like, before he would even get into a fight, and there's like the other cards or whatever there, like the other fighters. So he was saying like some people like cry in the back before a fight.
Oh, for sure.
Like that was like holy shit. But it's crazy because you see these guys online or on TV and these pay-per-view matches and all these different things, and you're like, these guys are fucking badass.
Yeah.
But then when you hear stories like that, it's like, damn, like they're human too.
They're human.
You know what I mean?
You're not supposed to walk towards danger.
Yeah.
You might get knocked the fuck out. Like there was times I'm in the back and I'm like, man, I could be at home right now eating a large pizza, watching the UFC, but I'm sitting here in front of my family about to fight another human. Yeah, it's like the most surreal, scary, best feeling in the world.
It goes against your human nature.
Everything.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's not like if you're in a bar and all of a sudden it just happens. You don't even have time to think.
You're slowly walking into it.
Yeah, but I'm like, oh my God, I'm like
Yeah.
walking towards the fire, you know, and I actually have to jump in the fire. There's no turning back.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know?
Well, I don't want to cut this podcast. Well, I have to cut the podcast short, but I don't want to cut it short. We have another podcast to go to.
That's right.
But last thing I ask is, what are you currently doing? What are your plans? I mean, obviously you're running for mayor. So what is that journey going to be like, and where can people kind of help donate to the campaign?
Right now, actually, I should say this. So I started fundraising on June 1st. I didn't really start collecting money. It was more building on my list of people.
Mm-hmm.
We just started collecting money yesterday.
Okay.
And it really has to be a full-time job. It's one of those things where you can't half-ass it.
Absolutely.
You know, so I'm all in. This is my last week of my son's last week of school and sports. And the summer, he does nothing but go to camp. So I can be all in for this campaign. The goal is to raise at least $100,000 fast because I've spoken to a bunch of PACs. Elon's one of them. They have my bio. And I said, hey, listen, how much do I need to raise to be a viable candidate? And they looked at Justin Elger, because everything's on record with campaign finance laws. He said, well, Elger's probably going to raise about $500,000. That's what he always raises. So we need to get you to at least to a 5-to-1. So once you raise $100,000, especially in Republican City, we'll come through.
That's crazy.
So
man.
I got to make that $100,000.
Let's fucking go, baby.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's change.
Yeah.
Let's flip it. Let's flip the city.
Flip the city and make history.
Hell
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
We're not even from Connecticut or New Haven.
But can you imagine? I don't want to say this in an arrogant way, but can you imagine the first person that actually turns a blue city red?
It's gonna be crazy
for the whole country. That means other cities will be like, wait a minute, we can do it. We can do it. We can do it too. And every single city has failed.
Yeah.
You can't really find me many cities that are thriving. Look at Chicago. Look at Los Angeles. Look at Detroit. Look at Baltimore. Look at Philadelphia.
Yeah.
All under one party rule. So to get people to vote Republican, I think is the only answer at this point.
Yeah.
And if you get in and you can make these changes, which are going to be hard in the first place, I think making the changes once you're in is harder than getting elected.
Yeah.
Because now you have a whole slate of Democrats
that aren't
going to want you to win.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm slowly building like a coalition right now, people that are already in there that don't like the mayor and don't like the way things are done. Most of them came from the private sector. So once I'm in, I can be very transparent with people. Like, these are all the issues. This is what we're going to do.
Gotcha.
And they're not going to like me for it. They might try to kill me. But
Before we go, last question I guess I would ask you is there something in particular, because I know you just said you kind of don't want to say it till after, but what is a change that you want to make or you want to see in the city when you get into office? Yeah,
it's foundational. It's the things that most politicians don't want to fix, because by the time it's fixed, it's not going to be in office anymore. To fix education and crime and fentanyl overdoses, what I just mentioned before, that could take 10 years to fix because it's so bad.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm here. You see a lot of these guys, they want to make all these little groups happy. All right, let's put more bike paths for these people, and let's do this stuff for the gay community. Let's do this little bit of stuff for the Hispanic community. So now everyone's like, oh yeah, he loves us.
Yeah.
Without doing the things that matter the most, which is fixing education, fixing the crime, lowering taxes. We have a police shortage. We have a firefighter shortage. We have a teacher shortage.
Crazy, man.
Nobody wants to work in these cities when they can go work in a town next door, get paid more, and have an easier job.
Yeah.
So all these things have to change. I'm the one willing to do it.
Hell yeah, man. That's awesome. Thank you for driving 4 hours.
Yeah. Traffic was crazy today.
I wish we could have a longer podcast. I feel like we're just warming up, but we'll definitely have you on another episode.
Oh, for sure.
Thank you. And thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, comment. Where can they find you?
Steve Orosco on Instagram. And then my website is steveorosco.com.
And that's to donate as well?
That's to donate as well.
Okay, cool.
Amazing.
And you heard it here. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks, Steve.